Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay.
Yeah.
Born ready.
November. So, what do you do when a guy tells you he's really physically attracted to you and you smile and you say, "You already said that," and he says, "Well, I'm probably going to keep saying it." Insert romantic-y sigh here. You keep him, that's what you do. And also you try to keep the rest of your priorities in order in the meantime. I know this isn't a really good intro paragraph, but I will warn you that most of this letter will probably be one-tracked and possibly a little bit jumbled, for such is my head right now. So yeah, read on at your own risk.
Did you send this to neighbors?
Not like neighbors.
I love it. This is
Friends-
not the newsletter I was
Friends who
expecting.
didn't live in LA is who it was going to. Okay.
She's nice.
Usually I had a ton of different things going on in each letter, but this letter was really just all about this guy.
Okay.
Okay. So like the heading is I met a guy. So right, I met a guy. I guess that's obvious. His name is Charles. He's 27, same age as me, and he's a cartoon animator. And yes, he does know I'm writing about him right now. Though he will not be reading this, nor will he be reading any of the newsletters that I write. They're only for people that don't live in LA, I told him. Why, he said. Because I write about people in LA. This is a conversation we had on our first date, but it wasn't until our third date that he started saying it wasn't fair that he's trying to get to know me, and I'm going to be keeping this part of myself from him. I said, it's not like I'm going to be writing about anything you don't already know. I just don't let people in LA read my stuff because I don't want them to be self-conscious when they're hanging out with me like, oh my gosh, is Tracy going to write about this all the time, you know? He sighed, okay. He seemed to accept it, but then he looked up from his food and was like, well, I trust you. He smiled at me, but it was less of a cute smile and more of a, you better not say anything bad about me or tell anyone anything you shouldn't be telling kind of smile. Then he looks at me and goes, you could, this was so weird that he said this. He goes, you could potentially be the most dangerous girl I could date in LA right now. He also told me that I am the most fascinating girl he's ever met in LA, that he likes my hair, that he loves the sound of my voice, that he feels at peace with me when he's with me, that he's never felt with anyone else, and that when he's with me, he is consumed with joy.
Wow.
Insert romantic-y side here again. He said this to me while we were walking late at night through an almost closed mall that was all lit up for Christmas. Then he goes, if this is making you uncomfortable or you're feeling overwhelmed right now, I can stop. What? I'm like, dude, I'm feeling both of those things right now, but I do not want you to stop. No, I said, I'm fine. Can we keep going?
This is Louis Armstrong in the background. That's amazing.
I'm pretty
Keep
sure
going.
It
you're
is
about to have your first kid.
It is Valentine's Day. Okay, next heading. Next heading is Charles is awesome. I love Charles. Well, not like really love him. That I don't know yet, I guess. But let's just say I really, 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 really like him. And it's not just because he agreed to my idea that we should make a cartoon about ourselves called Tracy and Charles. Did I tell you he's an animator? He's been animating for 5 years and he's really good. He works on some huge shows and he also did his own comic strip thing online for a few years. That's amazing. I recently checked it out and couldn't stop reading for hours because it was so good. Like a perfect mix of humor and thought-provoking ideas. I can give you the link if you want it, but skip back to the first one and don't be freaked out by all the blood that shows up in the last one. This is the one you'll accidentally see first when you go there. You have to read about 10 or so before you start getting into it, but yeah, it's really awesome. This is next heading. I met Charles at a seminar on suffering. This is my favorite part about me and Charles's story, besides the fact that we met on the exact date that's my mom and stepdad's anniversary, which I haven't told him yet because I don't want to freak him out. Though I actually think he wouldn't be freaked out by that because, dude, that boy talks about marriage like it's his job. Oh, so Tracy, did I tell you that my friend Jeffrey's proposing to his girlfriend at Disneyland tomorrow? So 2 of my friends at Bible study are engaged now. Blah, 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 marriage, marriage, marriage. So yeah, he wants to get married. Maybe to me, maybe in general, I don't know. But anyways, back to suffering. It was a brisk, cold Southern California afternoon on Friday, and I wanted to go to the suffering seminar, but none of my friends wanted to go with me, and also...
Weird.
And also, I was driving on a spare tire because I'd gotten a flat one the day before, and the seminar was in Hollywood, which can be an hour away in traffic, and I'm like, ugh, maybe I shouldn't go. But it was this famous guy speaking, this author that wrote like 1 million books. I can't remember his name. But anyways, he was going to talk about how a good God can allow suffering in the world, and that's something I've always wanted to know, you know? But I probably wouldn't have gone still, except I somehow just so happened to get an audition that was 3 minutes away from the seminar, and they scheduled my appointment half an hour before the seminar was going to start. On a Friday too, which is so weird because auditions are hardly ever scheduled on Friday nights. So yeah, that's when I decided God must be wanting me to learn a thing or two about suffering. Then as I was driving to the seminar, my roommate texted me this annoying thing about this guy I had been liking / stressing about, and it made me so mad. And I'm parking at the church and I'm like so mad. Like, God better speak to me about suffering because I am suffering right now. As I stomp out of my car and through the parking lot, only to see hundreds of people lined up just dying to hear about suffering. I'm like, gosh, I thought there were gonna be like 30 people here. And not only that, but everyone was in their 20s and super trendy and like hanging out, and there's cool cliques of friends drinking tea. And I'm all by myself feeling like a loser, but whatever. I'm already here and it's stacked parking, so I can't get out anyway. So I go up to the tea table and I'm all, hi, is this tea free? And they're like, yes. And I give them this smile like, I really am cool, I promise. And I take my tea and I put some Splenda in it and I walk into that church with my notebook and pen like, don't bug me, I'm here to learn. Except also I was texting my roommate angry venting type things about the text she sent me, and she was texting me back super supportive type things like, boys are stupid, just think about God, blah, blah, blah. Things like that. Meanwhile, as I'm sitting there being angry / ready to learn, I'm sitting in the aisle seat so I can see better, and this big group of friends comes to my row and asks me if they can get in. Oh sure, I say, barely looking up, and I scooch my legs back a little so they can get through. They sat at the other end, but then I guess they realized, like I did, that you can see better close to the aisle. So the one guy that was closest to me comes over and goes, is anyone sitting here? Like, next to me. And I go, oh, no. And he's like, cool. And they all scooch down, and now he's sitting next to me. I'm not really noticing him because mostly I'm texting my roommate, looking at the floor, feeling dumb. And I don't think he's noticing me either because he's too busy waving down every other person that comes through the door, being like, hey, so-and-so, we have seats over here. He kept doing that, and I'm like, geez, this guy knows everyone. And then he was super texting someone, or maybe a bunch of people, and then at some point, he finally turns to me and goes, hi, I'm Charles. Yes, this is Charles, if you hadn't figured it out yet. I'm like, I'm Tracy. And he looked at me, and I looked at him, and then the angels started singing Happy History. Just kidding. I still don't really care about him at that point. I think the first thing he asked me after we exchanged names was if I had come straight from work or something. I guess that was his explanation in his mind for why I didn't have any friends. But I'm like, no. Well, I guess I did come straight from an audition. But anyway, then he started telling me about his job, and then he asked me if I'd read a lot of Dr. So-and-so, the famous speaker's books, and I'm like, no, I just really like philosophy and theology, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, totally. This past year, all I've been into is theology. He told me he'd been animating for 5 years and had pretty much achieved all his career dreams, so there wasn't really anything left for him to do except to get into theology. I'm like, wait, what? I don't know what was the first thing that got Charles interested in me, but that was definitely the first thing that got me interested in him, because A, I don't know anyone that could say they've achieved all of their career dreams, much less someone in their 20s, and B, what else is there to do besides get into theology? Lots of things, like marriage, for instance, or buying lots of stuff, or having lots of sex, or doing drugs. I don't know. But I'm sure people could find something to do after achieving their career dreams besides get into theology. That's why I like Charles, and that's why we kept talking. I guess he also was cute. Anyway.